All right, welcome to everyone who is loading into the session. Excited to have you here with us this evening. We will be starting right at 6 o'clock. So just settle in and get ready to soak all the information up. For those of you just joining us, we're going to start in about 2 minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Thank you so much for joining us for the session on increasing college readiness, looking at the PSAT, SAT, and ACT. I'm going to go ahead and start recording so that we have a record of this for those who are not able to be with us today. If I can find where it says to start recording, there we go. Hey, it looks like we are actually already recording. So that's awesome. All right, so my name is Michelle Swain. I am the Director of Gifted and Advanced Academic Services for the district, and I will be sharing the information with you this evening. So welcome to our seminar. It is sponsored by the Future Readiness Department for Round Rock ISD. And we ask that during the session you do the following. If you could make sure that your microphone stays muted, and then use the Q&A feature. If you will hover over the bottom of your screen, there should be a bar that comes up and there should be a little place to click that says Q&A. If you will use that Q&A feature to ask questions, we do have some folks that are kind of hiding in the background answering those questions as we go along. And if there's anything that they don't feel like they can answer or they want to hold off and answer for the entire group, then we're going to have the Q&A at the end of the session. Okay, so again, I'm Michelle Swain, and we're going to be talking about increasing college readiness this evening. So what that entails is looking at the way college readiness assessments factor into admissions decisions, and that has changed a little bit this year. So we're going to talk about what it looks like in a typical year and then kind of what this year means for the class of 2021 and possibly for the class of 2022, any implications there. And then we're going to really focus on how to use the PSAT results to practice and improve performance on the SAT, and then look also at the differences between the SAT and the ACT. And so you can see kind of the flow on the right side of your screen for the agenda that we're going to talk about the admissions process, and then talk about each of the assessments, and then how the SAT and ACT compare. So when we've talked to admissions officers, and by the way, we do have a panel that we did in the fall that I believe was recorded, and we're doing another one in the spring with college admissions officers to ask all these kinds of questions. When we ask them, what are the main influences when you are looking at college admissions? A lot of them will automatically say we've got automatic admissions policies where we look at grade point averages and SAT and ACT scores, and that can get you automatically in. But then they also, if you end up going through a holistic review, or if you're going to a college or university, applying to a college or university that does holistic review and does not have auto admission policies, then they're not only going to look at that GPA and the SAT or ACT scores, they're also going to look at what were the high school courses that you took. Did you challenge yourself in advanced coursework, in college credit bearing coursework? Did you push yourself to take at least one advanced course each year? Or did you overdo it and take all advanced courses and not have that balance? That plays into it as well. They want to see extracurricular activities, and they don't want to see extracurricular activities all in your senior year. There are some kids who join every club and every organization their senior year, thinking that that's going to impress the college application process, and they're actually looking for longevity. Did you commit to something and stick with it for 2, 3, 4 years over time? And did you have leadership roles within that activity or that organization? And they're also looking at community service. How have you given back to your community? What are you passionate about, and how have you spent your time volunteering within that passion? They also look at the essay requirement. Now, that is the essay requirement for that college, not necessarily the essay requirement on the SAT or ACT. And we're going to talk a little bit later about the fact that the SAT essay is going away. It's no longer going to factor in. So when you see essay there, it's either talking about the essay on like the Common Application or Applied Texas, or it's talking about an essay question that the college or university has of their own, which is part of why the SAT essay is going away, because colleges don't use it. They use their own. They're also going to look at recommendations. And when you're talking about a recommendation, you want a recommendation from someone who knows you, who is going to be able to speak specifically to you and not in generalities. Someone who has anecdotes to share about encounters with you, things they've watched you do, things that they've seen you accomplish as a student. And then sometimes they do also have an interview process, whether that is a recorded interview where you answer questions in a recording and send in, or if it's a live interview or a Zoom interview. So those are some of those factors. But notice that SAT or ACT scores, that's pretty close to the top. So how are those scores used in admissions? Well, we know that they cover similar content, and they both are looking at learning that should have happened during the course of school, the ability to access information and use that information in a meaningful way. So we know that they are pretty similar. Most colleges don't indicate a preference. They'll take either one. It does play into those admissions decisions, both for automatic admission as well as holistic review in a typical year. And this year is not typical. A lot of colleges and universities have either gone test optional, or they have given students the choice of whether or not to submit their tests, or they have gone completely away from the test. Some of the private colleges and universities, the smaller liberal arts schools, have gone completely away from using those test scores this year. And some of them aren't going to go back. The bigger colleges and universities most likely will continue to use the SAT and or ACT scores in the future, but it's suspended for at least the class of 21 that's graduating this year. And we have yet to hear any news about the class of 22 and if they will be suspended for that as well. But in addition to admissions decisions, the SAT and ACT scores are used for program decisions. So if you want to get into an honors college or an honors program, if you're trying to get into the engineering school, or if you are trying to get into a particular level of course, it's used in those program decisions and course placements. It's also used in awarding merit-based scholarships. A lot of scholarships are going to first look at your GPA and class rank and your SAT or ACT scores before you are even allowed to continue on and apply for that scholarship. So that factors in quite a bit there. It's also used for NCAA eligibility. Um, if you are wanting to play collegiate sports, you'll want to be mindful of what their requirements are. And most colleges, like I said, don't really have a preference of one over the other. You'll be able to come back to this slide deck at a later date if you so choose. And so at the bottom, you see that there is a link to bigfuture.collegeboard.org. And this is just their site. This is 8 things to know about how colleges use admission tests. So this is also on that site, and there is a video that you can click on. It's embedded in their site, so I did not embed it here for our presentation tonight. But basically, when they look at your application, how do those scores help? Well, it opens doors to more options. You have more opportunities to get into like an honors dorm. It can help guide your choices for college programs and majors. If you don't hit a certain SAT or ACT score, you may have to go in general studies and not be able to get into that engineering school or the business college or the specific program that you were seeking. So it can help you get into those programs, but it also can help you kind of think about, okay, where do I want to major? I'm really, based on these scores, I'm really strong in this area or I'm really strong in that area. So it can help hone those choices for you. It can help qualify for scholarships, as I said earlier. There are a lot of scholarships that require a certain SAT or ACT score before you can apply. It can also help colleges find you. There is a feature when you take both of these exams, there is a feature where you can give those entities permission to contact you, to reach out to you and find you. And if you are not sure where you want to go to school, or if you are thinking you are interested in a smaller college or university, that's a great way for those lesser known, not Division I that play football on Saturday kind of schools to be able to locate your student and for you to become aware of those options and opportunities in those other colleges. It also helps you focus on the skills needed for college and to avoid remedial courses. We know that when students enter college and are not prepared and have to take remedial courses, those are courses that you're paying for, but that you don't get credit for towards graduation. So we want to avoid having to take those remedial courses. We want our students to hit that college readiness measure as they're going into college with the TSI so that they don't have to take those remedial courses. So our district has partnered with College Board to give the SAT suite of assessments. And so this suite is given so that our students have experience longitudinally over time with the same format and the same kinds of questions so that they can continue to hone their skills and get better. So we start with the PSAT 8-9 with our 8th graders, and those students typically will take that assessment in October and then get that information back, and that sets the baseline for their college readiness journey. That kind of signifies we're ending those state assessments, the STAR assessments, and we're beginning our college readiness assessment journey. There's a little bit of overlap with some of the EOCs, the end of course exams in high school, but the shift kind of happens in 8th grade. In 10th grade and 11th grade, our students will take the PSAT NMSQT, and the NMSQT means National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So their junior year, that is going to be used for scholarship purposes. But the nice thing about the PSAT and MSQT at 10th and 11th grade, it's allowing us to check in on student progress, see how they're doing, where do we need to shore up some skills, where do we maybe need to pay a little bit more attention and work a little bit on those standards to get students ready for the SAT. And the SAT is what connects students to college, and it is given to our students in the 11th grade year. So this is a little bit more about those assessments. So you can see the SAT Sweet Score Scale. They are all scored on basically the same scale with the intent that you can say, if I made this on the PSAT 8-9 today, it means I would have made that same score on the SAT had I taken it. But you notice that the PSAT range and the SAT range are different. And that's because an 8th grader hasn't learned everything they're expected to know by the time they're in 11th grade taking the SAT. So the scale kind of shifts as they get older so that it can accommodate for that new learning that they're experiencing as they go through the high school years and the high school courses. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about the PSAT. It's the preliminary SAT. It is typically taken in October. The 8-9 is taken in 8th grade. We give the kids a break in 9th grade as they're adjusting to high school. And then the NMSQT, the PSAT and NMSQT is taken in 10th and 11th. And both of these exams focus on the skills and knowledge that students are learning while they're in high school that they will also need to succeed in college. So the critical thinking skills, the reading, the analysis, all of that. The preparation for these exams, while yes, there are preparation programs out there, and we do recommend that students engage in some work with Khan Academy, which we'll talk more about later, it's really taking those challenging courses, being in accelerated math, taking the advanced classes at 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, getting into those pre-AP, or well, they're not pre-AP anymore, they're advanced, getting into those advanced courses, getting into those AP courses, taking on-ramps, taking dual credit, and those challenging courses that are really going to support their growth and development. Completing homework is a really important piece of that. Preparing for tests and quizzes, actively engaging in those classes, engaging in the reading, engaging in questioning. That's the best preparation that your student can have for the PSAT. When we look at the PSAT, it is very similar to the SAT. There is no penalty for guessing. We use that 8th grade as a baseline diagnostic test. They're not supposed to hit it out of the park. They're not expected to be perfect on that assessment by any stretch of the imagination. In 10th grade, we use it for AP potential. They can compare their 8th grade score to their 10th grade score and see where they've grown and see where they need to shore up some skills. And we'll talk more about AP potential momentarily. And then in 11th grade, they will be taking it for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. And you'll see a little bit more about that in a video later. The configuration of the PSAT, it is going to test reading, writing, and language, and math. So there's three basic sections. The reading, writing, and language are kind of combined, and then you've got the math. And then the key content features, they're going to break those down, those sections down into looking at how are words used in context? Do students know how to support what they're doing with evidence? Do they understand how to use math that matters most in life? Are they able to solve problems that are grounded in real world contexts and analysis in science and history and in social studies? And there's a lot of charts, there's a lot of graphs, there's a lot of being able to compare one piece to another, which is where those US founding documents and the great global conversations. So the things that you would talk about when you are out in the world talking about politics or talking about life or exploring big ideas. Those are all kind of the things that they have as key content features in the PSAT. So what do we do with the PSAT scores when we get them back? Well, the first thing that you want to do is review those scores and seek a way to improve. So don't file them away yet. You want to look at the resources that are available to you through College Board, and I've given you a site there, the College Board Understanding PSAT and MSQT Results Parent Tutorial. That's a wonderful PDF that you can access. There's also a Skills Insight tool, and that Skills Insight tool will allow you to look at each question that was asked and figure out why the right answer was the right answer and why the wrong answers may have been confusing, why they may have tricked you into answering it incorrectly. So that's a really nice tool to engage with when you get your score report back, so that you can really look at what maybe misconceptions you had and how you can improve in the future. And then you're going to want to link your PSAT scores to Khan Academy. And that's going to give you access to personalized practice based on specifically what you need to support, what you need to work on. It's not going to spend time on things that you already have shown mastery of. It's going to help you spend time on things that you need to get a little bit more practice with. So we're about to watch two different videos from the College Board. The first video is going to talk to you about the score report and what those scores mean. It's going to kind of be what you would have gotten in that PDF. The second is going to be one that shows you how to link your scores to Khan Academy. Both of these videos are available on the College Board website. They're also available through YouTube. So if it goes quickly and you want to go back and refer to them later, you can easily find them through the College Board website as well as Google. And then they are linked on this page as well for future reference. And you'll be able to come back and watch this video at a later date as well. So we're going to go ahead and watch the first video about understanding your score report.
Congratulations on taking the PSAT and MSQT. Now it's time to see your scores, which you can get on your phone or a computer. The first thing you'll see is your total score, which is a combination of your scores on the evidence-based reading and writing and math sections. These scores give you an idea of how you'll do on the SAT and how ready you are for college. Your test scores, cross-test scores, and sub-scores give you even more details about how you did in specific areas. Scores in green show your strengths. Scores in yellow and red help you understand where you need to improve. Go to Skills Insight to dig even deeper and see what your scores say about your skills and how you can develop them further. Thinking about your scores and making a plan to improve are important steps towards college. The PSAT and MSQT has provided millions of eligible students with the opportunity to enter the National Merit Scholarship Program, an annual academic competition for recognition and scholarships. Go to the NMSC Selection Index section to see if you meet the entry requirements. You can also use your PSAT and MSQT scores to start preparing for the SAT. Go to satpractice.org to create and link your College Board and Khan Academy accounts to get started. Your PSAT and MSQT test scores will get imported into Khan Academy and give you a personalized SAT study plan to help you practice the areas where you need the most work. Most students take the SAT in the spring of their junior year and again in August or the fall of their senior year. Don't forget to register. Taking challenging classes is another great way to prepare for college. The AP Potential section of your score report tells you which AP classes would be great for you. Speak to your teacher or counselor to learn more about AP. You can also explore careers based on your interests and then find compatible college and career options. Here's a quick recap. Don't forget to review your scores, learn more about scholarship and recognition opportunities, practice and register for the SAT, find the AP classes that are best for you, and explore college and career options.
So that was a really nice quick overview of all of those opportunities that are then available to you once you get that score report back. It went through that very quickly, so I totally understand if you want to go back and view it at another date. But I also wanted to make sure that you got to really look at the piece relative to doing your linking to Khan Academy. So this next video is specifically focused on how do you do that? How do you link from College Board account PSAT scores to Khan Academy.
Do you know that once you receive your PSAT and MSQT test results, you get immediate access to free, personalized practice for the SAT on Khan Academy? Your results will help create an SAT study plan just for you, focused on the areas where you need the most help. Just follow these 3 simple steps. Step 1, go to satpractice.org to create an account on Khan Academy or sign into your existing account. Step 2, choose to link your College Board and Khan Academy accounts while you're signing up or from your account dashboard. Step 3, create a College Board account or sign into your existing account and click Send to send your scores. Now you're all set to save time with personalized practice based on your test results. So sign up, link up, get practicing.
So that satpractice.org site is one you're going to want to remember. That is how to get to the Khan Academy site, and it is how you will engage with the content.
Do you know that once you receive your...
Okay, moving on. So in light of that Khan Academy opportunity, our district has kind of embraced some of the research that's come out of College Board relative to Khan Academy that shows that when you engage in that official SAT practice, it does yield an increase in score. So when we look at a student who does no hours of official SAT practice, they may get a natural 60-point increase just because they've been in school from typically October until March. That's the distance between the PSAT in the junior year and the SAT in the junior year. But if you engage in 6 hours, just 6 hours of official SAT practice, you get a 90-point increase. If you engage in 20 hours, you get on average a 115-point increase, but we've seen kids get over 200 points increase. And so we have kind of adopted this campaign, a countdown to the SAT. Did you do your 22? If you've driven by the high schools, you might have seen the signs that are out, the little yard signs that are out at the entrances. But we want kids to understand that the number of points gained from PSAT to SAT do correlate to the hours that they spend practicing. So if they will spend a little bit more time practicing, particularly practicing those areas that they need to shore up or a little bit weaker in, they will see significant gains. Why does that matter? Well, a 115-point increase can make the difference between automatic admission and holistic review. It can make the difference between a $4,000 scholarship and no scholarship. It can make the difference between getting into an honors program and not getting into an honors program. So those points really make a difference, and this is an opportunity for kids to improve that for free. Once you have done a little bit of reviewing and practicing, you're going to want to expand your use of those PSAT scores. So I've given you the district site for SAT Readiness, roundrock.isd.org/SAT-readiness. This is our countdown to the SAT. Did you do your 22? On that site, you will find videos, you'll find links to help support your journey getting from the PSAT to the SAT successfully. The video that I showed earlier, I believe, is linked there as well about how to connect your Khan Academy and College Board accounts. And you'll see more about the research that talks about how the practice really supports student increases. So that's a great place. And you can also get to it through the district app. So if you have your phone, there is a place to click in the district app to get to that site as well. You'll also want to look at that AP Potential tool. That AP Potential tool you saw briefly in the video, but basically it gives a list of all of the AP courses that are available, whether or not they are available at your school. So you'll see a little check mark if it's available at your school. And then it will have 3 little dots to tell you how prepared you are to be highly successful in that course. So if you have 3 dots, it's basically saying, based on your PSAT performance pattern, we think you will do very well in this class. The students that have done very well in this class before and have earned 3, 4s, or 5s have had a similar performance pattern on their PSAT to what you did. So it's kind of a Not a guarantee, but it's a pretty good indicator that that might be a good course for you to select. If it has one green little circle, not saying you shouldn't take the class by any means, but saying you might have to put a little bit more effort and work a little bit harder because you've got some skills that may not have been completely developed that you would need for this particular course. So it's a nice way to get in there and look at which courses should I be taking. Another feature of that, another thing to think about as you're looking at the AP Potential tool is to definitely look at the AP Credit Policy website. And again, you can just Google AP Credit Policy and it'll bring the site up. You can put any college or university into that site and it will give you what scores they require to get credit in what exams. And so it's a really neat tool if you're trying to decide, should I take this course? Should I not take this course? What do I need to get on the exam? AP exams are scored on a scale of 1 to 5. Typically in the state of Texas, if you get a 3 or higher, you're going to get college credit at a public college or university. A lot of the private colleges set their own requirements, but they may give you credit for that as well. So that's another place to go look. You also might want to explore the National Merit Scholarship Program. You heard them talk about the index and what the required scores are to be part of that. We typically have anywhere from 50 to 100 students across the district who are named National Merit Scholars every year and have the added bonus of getting those scholarships. There are a lot of colleges and universities that if you are a National Merit Scholar, they will give you a full ride. They want to be able to say that they have attracted those National Merit Scholars, and so they will pay for your entire college experience. So it's definitely worthwhile. There's also, if you're not a National Merit Scholar, there are other scholarships that you can access through that as well. So it's not just those top scholarships. There's other opportunities that come your way by participating in that. And then the last thing related to the PSAT is the opportunity scholarships. And these are really cool scholarships being offered by the College Board, no essay required. I've got a senior and she's working on her scholarship essays as we speak. So with this, there's no essay required. It's doing things that you would normally do. It's building your college list. It's spending time on Khan Academy, improving your PSAT score to your SAT score. It is filling out the FAFSA. And if you engage in these little steps all along the way, there are $500 scholarships, $1,500 scholarships, and they're basically drawn out of a hat. They're drawn at random. But if you do all of those, it makes you eligible for the big scholarships, the $40,000 scholarships. And we actually had 3 students in the state of Texas earn those $40,000 scholarships last year. So it does happen, and that is a huge help to families trying to afford college. Here's a little bit more information for you.
Everyone's path to college is unique. Some are filled with twists and turns. Some start in unexpected places, and some go further than ever seemed possible. Each journey is different, but there are steps every student should take. Introducing the College Board Opportunity Scholarships program, open to every student that guides you through the college planning process and gives you an opportunity to earn scholarships for every step you take. Complete them all, and you could earn the biggest reward, a $40,000 scholarship. Okay, so what are the steps? Step 1, build your college list. It will change along the way, but it's important to start exploring. So just jump in. Step 2, practice for the SAT on Khan Academy. Practice is how you get better at everything. The SAT is no different. Step 3, improve your score. It's where all of that practice pays off. Even a small score increase on your SAT can have a big effect. Step 4, strengthen your college list. A balanced list with a variety of options gives you the best chance to find the right one for you. Step 5, complete the FAFSA. There are millions of students every year who are eligible for financial aid, but just don't complete their application. Sure, it takes some work, but at the end of it, you could get thousands to help pay for college. Step 6, apply to colleges. Because after all your hard work, an amazing opportunity could be just around the corner. The College Board Opportunity Scholarships. Learn more at cb.org/opportunity.
And it seemed like that video may have dragged a little bit on your end. So I would still recommend going to collegeboard.org/opportunity to find out a little bit more about those opportunity scholarships. This is only going to be it's either the second or third year that they're offering them. And this is the time that juniors start doing those activities, start checking those boxes. And so it's the perfect time to get started if you have a junior. So what is the SAT? It is a college readiness assessment that's taken at 11th and 12th grade. And you saw in the video, typically in the spring of 11th grade and the summer or fall of 12th grade. A lot of kids take it twice. It is used for college admissions and scholarships. It has the same sections as the PSAT, reading, writing and language, and math, and the same key content features. So the alignment is really, really tight. Whatever you've done on the PSAT, you're going to see that same format on the SAT. Here is how it's kind of broken out so that you can see the different scores. So the total score is on a scale of 400 to 1600. And then you have two section scores that are going to be between 200 and 800. And while those bars don't look the same, they're worth the same amount. So you can get an 800 on the reading and writing, you can get an 800 on the math. And then you have what's called cross-test scores, where they're looking at science and they're looking at social studies, but it's a cross-test. So they're measuring the reading and math through science and social studies content. And then you see the 3 subtest scores, where reading and writing and language are broken out. And then the 7 sub-scores that align to those content pieces. So looking at the heart of algebra, problem solving and data analysis, passport to advanced math, and then those standard English conventions, expressions of ideas, command of evidence, and words in context. The nice thing about having it broken out like that is they're able to really give you some targeted information on where you do really well and where you need to improve.
I might not be able to find a ride for that day. I might have work that day.
Probably wouldn't have been too sure if the test was for me.
We have students that showed potential for advancement, but didn't take advantage of SAT. We thought this would be a great opportunity to present an SAT to a student that didn't have to take it on Saturday.
The College Board's SAT School Day program creates a unique opportunity for students to take the SAT during class hours in their own school, encouraging them to prepare for college enrollment and completion.
Now that we've been afforded the opportunity to participate in the SAT School Day program, we've grown from that 35th percentile to 90% participation in the last 3 years. The SAT School Day has put an official score report, the resources, right at the fingertips of families to give them the boost that they may not have had previously.
Since 2009, the College Board has partnered with states and school districts to administer the SAT during the school day, making it accessible to all students.
So if I have my SAT scores on my transcript and everything and all of that's handled, then it'll be easy for me to get into the colleges that I want to.
I want to be into the sports medicine field, and I have to get into a good college with a high SAT score. So with this SAT School Day, it gave me the opportunity that I didn't have before to take a free SAT in school in a familiar environment and do great on it.
With SAT School Day, students can take the exam without worrying about missing work, religious obligations, or other extracurricular activities that often conflict with Saturday test days. Students increase their chances of applying to and enrolling in college.
Yeah, we've definitely seen an increase in the number of students who are matriculating into post-secondary. We feel that SAT School Day is a big part of that. I can tell you, it changes lives. I mean, everybody has the opportunity to go to college or post-secondary work. That's why we're doing this SAT on a school day.
Since we've started School Day SAT in 2010, we've increased our college enrollment, college acceptances are off the map, and we're most excited to say that our class of 2014 was offered over $250 million in scholarships and financial aid.
Well, I got accepted into the University of North Texas in Denton. I'm going to be a chemistry major. And I received the Emerald Eagle Scholarship, which pays for all my classes. So I'm really excited for that.
Helping students realize their dreams for the future. College Board SAT School Day.
So that gives you a little bit more information from the student perspective and from the staff perspective as well. relative to why we do the SAT school day. We've been doing this for several years now. It guarantees that all of our students have the opportunity to take at least one college readiness assessment before they start their senior year. And we know that most of them will take it again, and that's great. But it gives them that first blush at it, that first look. We encourage them to take it very seriously. It's a great opportunity for them. But here are some resources if you particularly are a parent of a junior this year, or even if you're the parent of a sophomore who's going to be doing this a year from now. There's the video that we just looked at that gives you that information about the school day. There's also a student guide and then a student guide to how to practice and engage with their scores. So that will give them information about how to analyze their scores and continue to improve, again, using Khan Academy. And then there's a test day checklist that you can access that talks about what you can and can't take into the test. For example, you cannot use a mechanical pencil on the SAT. They want you using a good old-fashioned number 2 pencil. It works much better with the scoring of the test. And so that's part of that test day checklist, that you have to have your ID with you. You have to have your testing ticket. You are not supposed to bring your phone into the testing environment. So that checklist helps students by going through all of those things that you should remember and you should not do. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the ACT. We have focused on the SAT in our district because of the suite of assessments and the ability to have the consistency going from 8th grade all the way through the junior and senior year. But the ACT is also a college readiness assessment that is provided to 11th and 12th graders. It's not recommended that you take it before 11th grade because before 11th grade, you haven't experienced a lot of the content that is going to be assessed on the test. And so, yes, you're exposing yourself to the format, but you're not really getting much out of taking it at that point. It is also used in college admissions and scholarships so that you can access the same kinds of opportunities with the ACT as you do with the SAT. And a lot of kids will end up taking both to see which one they feel more comfortable with and which one they are performing better on. There is a student and parent site that you can go to find out a little bit more about it. There are 4 sections to the ACT as opposed to the 2 sections on the SAT. And those sections are English, reading, math, and science. The writing is optional. They have not yet canceled the essay the way that the SAT canceled the essay. They do have a webinar available for students and parents, and that is linked here as well so that when you access the slide deck at a later date, you can go and look at that. And then there are some really neat new test options available. So you saw that there's 4 sections, and typically when you take an SAT or an ACT, you have to take all the sections. What ACT has done this in the last year is they have said, you know what? We are going to allow you to retake 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those sections, depending on what you need. So if you're happy with your subtest score on the section for English, reading, and math, but you want to retake the science, they're going to let you do that. And part of the reason they've changed to that, part of the reason that they let you do that is because they've gone to something called super scoring. And what super scoring is, and a lot of colleges already do this for you, what super scoring is a way to take your highest score from multiple attempts on each section and combine that score to be your total score, to make up your composite or your total score. So if you did really well on one administration on English and reading, but not so well on math and science, and then you took it again and did really well on math and science, they would take your highest math and science score of the 2 and your highest English and reading score of the 2. Well, what this section retesting is allowing you to do is if you're already happy with your English and reading score, you can just take the math and science. You don't have to take the whole test over. You can just take those sections. The other thing that they have done is developed an online test option. So those are some of the new options available through the ACT, and I encourage you to explore more at these links and look at more at their website and what they have available there. They also have a scholarship giveaway, the ACT scholarship giveaway. And so you can find out more information. Is very similar to the SAT scholarship or the College Board Opportunity Scholarship, I should say. So you can find more about that at that link as well. Here is what the composition of that test looks like. So in the English section, you're going to see 75 questions. It's going to be a combination of mechanics and rhetoric. So you'll see punctuation, grammar usage, and sentence structure for part of it. And then you'll see strategy, organization, and style for part of that score as well. On the math, they've got 3 subsections. So you're going to see Algebra 1. You're going to see Algebra 2 and Geometry, which is another reason if you're a sophomore, you might not want to take this yet because you might not have seen that Algebra 2, and you certainly may not have seen that trigonometry that is down there with the geometry. So wanting to wait until junior year to get the best possible attempt at being successful. And then reading, you see it's broken down into passages that cover social studies, passages that talk about the natural sciences, fiction and narrative, as well as the humanities. And then the 4th section is going to be the science question. Reading and science are both 40 questions each. And you're looking at how is data represented? What are those charts and graphs? Looking at research summaries. Can you analyze a passage that is speaking to a research study? And looking at conflicting viewpoints, so different sides of the same issue and how they may interact or conflict. And then the writing section, if you choose to take the writing section, it is 30 minutes and it, I believe, is a single prompt. There are supports for success on the ACT. So if you go to the ACT site, you can look at the ACT Academy, their rapid review opportunity, their online prep, and some of their prep is free and some of it is at a cost. They also have an official ACT prep guide, and they have a question of the day opportunity, and they do provide some practice tests. So both the SAT and ACT have practice test opportunities. The College Board SAT through Khan Academy has over 5,000 questions in their question bank that students can go in and work with. And they also can take up to, I believe it is 8 full-length SAT practice exams and get those scored. So, and again, similarly on the ACT, they have practice opportunities. So you definitely have access to quite a bit of practice and preparation material without having to go and engage in a costly preparation program, some of which costs thousands of dollars. So the question then becomes, which one do I take? And the answer is one that you're not going to like because it honestly depends. There are a whole lot of different factors and features. This is a chart that I found from Compass Education Group that kind of gives you some idea of when you should take the SAT, when you should retake the ACT, which one you will do better in. But the reality is they're very similar in a lot of ways. They both measure academic achievement. They both measure what you have gained from being in school as far as your knowledge and skills and ability to apply that. It's content-based. Neither one will give you a penalty for a wrong answer. That changed several years ago with the SAT. They used to ding you a quarter of a question for a wrong answer. They no longer do that. So students never need to leave a question blank. Always at least guess. And a great trick for that is to guess the same answer for any of the ones that you're guessing. It increases your percent chance of getting those correct. They don't really have a lot of tricks and traps. They're not trying to set you up for failure. They just want to know, can you analyze? Can you engage in critical thinking? Can you solve these problems? They are both multiple choice. Now, that being said, there are some places where there are some what are called gridables in the math. So you actually have to come up with your own answer and grid that in. And you'll want to make sure that you pay attention to the specific directions there to know how many decimal points to go out and how to fill that in. They are both timed. And so a lot of students need to practice that timed testing. They need to get used to taking a high intensity test quickly. As they have gone through their primary years or elementary and middle school, they got lots of time for tests. Now they're having to do it with a timer going. So practicing those practice tests with a timer is a great way to prepare for these exams. They're typically offered about 7 times a year nationally. Those are the Saturday administrations. That does not count the SAT school day that is offered by the district in March. And then you can choose which set of scores you're going to submit to colleges. So you don't have to submit all of your scores. You can automatically send, you can wait and see what you got and then send. There's lots of options there. And then both are widely accepted at all US colleges, or at least almost all US colleges. Both do require practice to do well, though. These are tests that you definitely want to be familiar with the format. You want to be familiar with the way they ask the questions. You don't want to spend those precious moments in a timed test engaged in having to read and really learn the directions. You want to already know that format. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the features, and you notice that for the SAT, I have done a strike through for the essay because, again, that is something that is brand new. They have announced. In fact, I believe it doesn't start until the June administration, so I think you can still take the essay this spring at the national administrations. We are not doing the essay in the school day administration. They both take about the same amount of time. They have very different score ranges. So the composite score for the SAT ranges from 400 to 1600. The composite score for the ACT, which is simply just taking those 4 scores and putting them together, is a 1 to a 36. You can kind of see what that average score is, so you can get a feel for how's my kid doing, especially if you have a PSAT score that you're holding on to. You can kind of see how that might compare. If they're already at a 1060 or above on their PSAT, then they're projected to be above average for their SAT. The SAT has 3 subtests. The ACT has 4, plus that optional writing test. There are more questions on the ACT, even though it takes the same amount of time, and there are fewer breaks on the ACT. You have more breaks on the SAT. And the time per question on the SAT is a little bit more if you kind of time it out to see how much time they have. So that gives you a little bit of insight, but there's really not a whole lot of difference. Some people say they like the ACT better because of the science section. And certainly if you have a science-minded student who would do really well on that section, you might want to make sure that they at least take that once to see how they do. Most of the time, we recommend that you take each of them at least once. So again, here's the side-by-side that shows you the test length and timing. So you can see how many reading questions there are and in the amount of time given, how many math questions there are. And the math, there is a calculator and a non-calculator section on the SAT. So they have some questions that they're able to do with a calculator. And then you see the writing and language test versus the English test and how many questions are there. And again, the SAT does not have a science test. They just have that reading, English, and math. Here are some graphics. You can find infographics these days on anything and everything. So here, for those of you that like the colorful graphics, here is a side-by-side comparison so you can kind of get that feel for what that looks like in that format. And here are some additional resources. So there is an ACT to SAT score conversion chart that's provided by Princeton Review. There's a couple of different of those out there. And I will tell you that some colleges and universities, if you take one, they use a conversion chart to figure out what your score on the other would be. So if you are going to do better on one than the other, it might be definitely worth it to go ahead and take both of them so that you can take advantage of those highest scores as they use that conversion. Here are some other articles, links to the ACT and SAT parent and student pages. So lots of additional resources to find out more information and do a little bit more investigation into which of the two options you really want to take for that second time. But again, like I said, we recommend that everybody take each of them at least once. We do offer some in-district preparation. Our teachers are getting kids on Khan Academy, and they're encouraging them to do that for bell ringers, warm-ups. They're having them do that as homework sometimes. I know a lot of them are using the asynchronous time during the school day to engage in that kind of practice. We do have Princeton Review as a partner with the district, and so we have teachers that are trained to do Princeton Review courses to prepare students for going into that college readiness assessment experience and talk about some of the strategies. Khan Academy is really the content. So how do you do the math? How do you do the English? How do you do the reading pieces? And Princeton Review is more the strategies component. So how do you take a high stakes assessment quickly and do well on it? How do you determine which questions you should spend more time on, which questions you should just skip because you have absolutely no idea. And so a lot of those kinds of strategies. We do embed that Princeton Review material into our CRSS course, which is called the College Readiness and Study Skills course. That is a single semester course that you can take in high school, and we recommend it for sophomores and juniors. Sometimes we do have seniors take it the fall of their senior year. And then we also embed it in the AVID 3 course, and AVID 3 is the junior year of the AVID program. So students in our junior year AVID 3 courses get the Princeton Review automatically as part of their curriculum. There are also a slew of outside test prep companies, and I've heard lots of people say really good things about those, and it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get a little bit of a gain, to get over a little bit of a hump, then you might just go with the Khan Academy and the Princeton Review. If you need a 300 or 400 point increase, if that's where you're sitting to get into a particular program that you're interested in, or to make yourself eligible for a particular scholarship or a particular college or university, you might explore some of these other options through Huntington or Kaplan. More Than a Teacher. Princeton Review does also have private outside of the school district offerings that you can engage with. So there's lots of additional resources in addition to what the school does. I will say that we have worked with our curriculum department to do a lot more training in SAT and ACT questions and questioning styles. And so they are embedding those questioning styles and the reading passages and the types of math questions into the regular curriculum at the high school level. And we're even starting to do some of that at the middle school level so that kids don't just see this when it's time for college readiness assessments, but they're seeing this as a natural part of what they do in school every day. And we're seeing improvements continuously in our scores relative to having that additional preparation. So we actually are finishing up a little bit early, which means that we have a lot more time for questions, and we'll engage in those questions in just a second. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that if you find yourself with questions after this session and you want to reach out, feel free to email me at michelle_swain@roundrockisd.org, or to reach out to your high school counselor, because your high school counselors know all of this information as well, and they are an invaluable source to helping you navigate the road to college. This presentation will be available on the Future Readiness website probably within about a week. The recording will be available, and the slide deck will be available there as well. So I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we will take questions.
And Michelle, there was only one question in the chat because I think you did such a great job explaining everything. And it was just about the dates that from the January PSAT. And according to their website, the results should be out by March 8th. So that was the only question.
So what we're finding, what we're hearing from our families is, at least for the PSAT 8-9, those results are already out. They took the test a day apart from the 10th graders that took the PSAT and MSQT. And remember that that was an anomaly. So if you have other students, we don't usually do those tests in January. That was a COVID change, a pivot, if you will. Usually all of that testing, all the PSAT 8-9, the PSAT and MSQT at 10th and 11th is done in October. And so you want to be prepared for that in October. You usually would get those scores back in December and then have time in December, January, February to prepare for that March SAT. So yes, they're saying that they're not going to be back until later in after the SAT school day, but please do know that they may show up earlier than that. So keep an eye on that score reporting portal. But also there's nothing to say that you can't get into Khan Academy now and start practicing and engaging with that at this time. And also if you are a sophomore, it doesn't matter if you don't get those scores before March 3rd because you're not taking the SAT school day. That's only the juniors. So sophomores will get their scores and they will have all the way until October to engage on Khan Academy and to improve. Okay, are there any other questions that may have cropped up, Catherine?
No, ma'am, that was it.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us this evening. And I hope that you have enjoyed the information and have written down some of the links and are going to come back to some of those links. And obviously, if you have questions later, feel free to come back and reach out to us. All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.